Finally back getting these stringers in this boat today. I'm going to introduce you a little bit to the structural putty. I might have showed you that a little bit on the last video, but I don't think I went into explaining what the product is, how to use it, etc. So spend some time looking at that. I'll show you how I use that as kind of a bed to put the stringers in the boat, and then how they get glassed in place. Let's get going. So this is the total boat structural putty that I've been using to do the fillets, as well as to, I guess, put as a bed for those stringers to get that back in the boat before I use the fiber and epoxy to glass them in place. It is a two-part mix. What you do is you measure out a certain weight of the putty onto whatever you're going to mix. They say don't mix on cardboard or plastic, so I've just been using this scrap of sheet metal. Throw it on the scale. I've been doing it in batches of 200 grams. And then what you do is add 1.5 to 2% of the catalyst that comes with it. So I've been doing 200 grams of this stuff, and then get it up to 204, between 204 and 205 grams by adding that on there. You see how bright blue that is? When it's properly mixed, it turns to like a blue greenish, a little more aqua color. And I just use this plastic paddle that came with it to just fold it in on each other. I put the stuff, or the putty, down on there, kind of put a little cup in it so it holds the catalyst, and then just slowly start folding it in on itself until it's all well blended. And then for applying it, I just used a plastic butter knife that worked pretty well. I tried using like a bamboo coffee stirrer at first, but that didn't quite give me quite as large of a radius as I would like, and I couldn't get as much material to pile on it. So yeah, the little plastic butter knife worked well, and when it gets too sticky, you throw it away and get a new one, so it's no big deal. That's what it looks like after I put the mixed putty down, set the stringer on top of it, and then I came along all these edges, added more, make sure there was a good round on there, and yeah, just made sure it was packed in there. Turned out pretty nice. It wasn't as hard as I thought it might be, and I got better as I went along, so this is right towards the end of what I did. And then after that, you do the epoxy and fiberglass over top of that. And I started that last night. And there's a section of it in there. You can see an area where I didn't quite get enough epoxy in there, but like I said, I'm not a fiberglass expert by any means. This is my first real project with that, but I did this last night for this section here, and then this section all the way to there. And when I came out this morning, those stringers were in there. They weren't going anywhere. So I finished putting the structural putty in on both sides of this, and then this section and these tail sections. Now I just got to go back and add the fiberglass cloth and epoxy on both sides of the stringers in all these areas, and we should be good to go. I have all of my cloth pieces cut, ready to go. The next thing will be to mix the resin. It's the same resin that I used when I was prepping the stringers and the floor pieces. So it's a 5-to-1 mix, and I think to do both of these it'll take kind of probably three parts. So I'll do I'll use the 5-to-1 gauge here on the side of my mixing cup. I'll probably do 2 batches. So I'll pour the first part up to this line, and then I'll add the second part up to this line. That will give me my 5-to-1 mix. You stir it for a minute to let it all blend, and then take my trusty disposable brushes here. And what I'll be doing is first putting a layer of the epoxy down. So I'll paint along this edge and along that edge with the epoxy. I'll get that probably painted for these 3 sections, and then I'll go back and lay the fiber in place, and I'll push it in place as much as I can. I'll be wearing these gloves so I can touch it, get it in there as much as I possibly can. Then I'll come back with my paintbrush to push it into that corner further, make sure I'm good, and then go paint over the top of it with the epoxy again to make sure that that cloth is fully saturated with the epoxy. Yeah, it's simple as that. The one key is the epoxy has like 15 minutes of work time, so it's mix it up and then go to get it down where it needs to be, and then mix another batch and keep working. So I'm gonna turn the camera off, get that all turned around, and then I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. Alright, so we have all of this glassed into place. It's just gotta give it some time to dry. I'll give it at least 24 hours, and then probably tomorrow after work I'll come in here and give it one more double check, make sure everything looks like it should, and then yeah, as long as I don't have any issues with how it turns out, I should be ready to add the decking. So it's getting there slowly.